Welcome to the European Data Summit, including to our audience participating per live stream. My name is Pencho Kuzev. I work for the Department Politics and Consulting of the Konrad-Adenauer Foundation, and I'm going to navigate you through this event in the next 3 days. My special welcome to our European guests who, despite corona restrictions, have arrived in Berlin and even provided negative corona tests on site in order to join us. We're so grateful for your participation. Many thanks. Now, I would like to invite Professor Norbert Lammert, the chairman of the Konrad-Adenauer Foundation and the former president of the German Parliament, to open the 4th European Data Summit. Professor Lammert, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Kuzev. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to welcome you and to open this 4th European Data Summit of the Adenauer Foundation. And I thank you for your interest and your participation. We are a bit proud that during the last years, this conference has established as one of the prominent formats for exchanging informations, experiences, and initiatives in data policy making, and this is sufficient reason to thank all the experts, the speakers who made this conference as promising as it is, and this is particularly true for the forthcoming conference, but I would like to include all the participants of the former conferences as well. It is nearly self-understanding that and why a political foundation like the Adenauer Foundation deals with this subject. Because we are dealing with politics. And politics has an unavoidable multiple interest in data. It deals with data, with informations, with fakes, with messages, with comments, with speculations, all that having some influence in policy making. Secondly, it sets framework conditions for dealing with data. By the way, even if it doesn't set framework conditions, it sets framework conditions. Avoiding to give regulation is some kind of framework condition. And one of the sensible points, not only for this conference, is precisely to which extent there is a need for regulation. And thirdly, politics at least reflects sovereignty. It has to do with a claim of sovereignty. What does this mean in terms of data policy making? Does digital sovereignty exist at all? And if so, what about Europe insofar? Do we have a role, and which one? Do we have any significant influence on framework conditions in dealing with data? The European Union has decided to introduce instruments to give its citizens more control of their data and impose regulation, at least on major significant gatekeepers. The approach of the European Union to do so in terms of a Digital Markets Act and a Digital Service Act is the attempt to maintain at least a remarkable influence in digital policy making. to make remarkable players at least more responsible for what happens on their platforms. The Adenauer Foundation has published a study, Restoring Balance to Digital Competition, about a year ago. And we gave some information on lacks of regulation and to overcome the regulatory time lag and enable authorities to react more quickly and more efficiently. Let me remind you on some historical dates which in my understanding had something to do with our subject today and during the 2 following days. On December 1st, 1989, precisely 30 years ago today, the East Germany's parliament at that time abolished the existing constitutional provision granting the Communist Party the leading role in the state. There was no competition until then, politically, over 40 years. Not even to speak on fair competition. There was no competition at all until this date. There was no distribution of power. There was no sovereignty, neither sovereignty of people nor sovereignty of data. And again, precisely 20 years later, on December 1st, 2009, 12 years ago, the Lisbon Treaty entered into force. This is the common framework of the member states of the European Union expressing their understanding how to deal with each other, defining minimum standards of competition, of distribution of power, of sovereignty, of responsibility. And there's probably no other field which has more influence on this minimum standards being implemented or not in a modern society than the field of data. So we are in the heart of urgent issues within Europe and beyond Europe. And once again, I express my gratitude to all participants, all speakers who contribute with their experience to necessary initiatives during the next months and years. And I also express my congratulations to the colleagues of the European Parliament, particularly to Andreas Schwab, the rapporteur on the respective European initiative, the proposed Digital Markets Act, for successfully concluding the procedure within the European Parliament, which is not already the end of the story, but a major necessary step in implementing our aims in so far. So once again, welcome, and I look forward for once again an inspiring conference which, given the experiences of last years, opens not only doors for remarkable academic research, but for political implications which is a particular interest of a political foundation. Thank you for your interest and welcome once again.